Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you could join us today for this virtual training. It's a way that we can all communicate virtually and get a lot of different people from districts, colleges, correction facilities, all to come together in talking about important topics in adult education. Today, I'm really honored to bring to you three real great professionals in the field. Jeff Arnott, who's the Director for Adult Education at Brevard County Public Schools. He'll be leading the discussion along with Ann Watts, who's the Director for Career and Adult Education from Baker County, and Suzanne Ensman, who's just now ready to go on to her new job as assistant professor at the College of Education at the University of Tampa. We really applaud you and congratulate you on your new job, Suzanne. So I'm going to turn it over directly to Jeff, who we're going to make some little housekeeping. No, Joseph, you go first, and we'll do a little housekeeping rules, and then we're going to turn it over to Jeff and get started. Thank you.
Okay. First, I want to make sure everyone's aware of their control panel and how they can use it. The main options on the bottom left-hand corner, your mute option is a little microphone that says mute, and there's a video that says start video. So if you click that, it turns it on or off depending upon the state that it's in. We encourage you to mute your mic when you're not wanting to speak or needing to speak so that we don't pick up background noise from your location. There's also a chat option at the bottom. I'm assuming everyone can hear me now. If you cannot, simply chat in that chat option that you cannot, and I'll address you directly privately. We had 3 or 4 new connections occurred since we've started, so I'm assuming everyone can hear me. If they can't, again, put it into the chat box. All right, I'll turn it over to Jeff, and he will start his presentation.
Well, welcome everybody, and I'm honored to be hosting this this particular event today. Just for a couple housekeeping things, my internet all of a sudden is deciding to go in and out. So if it does throttle a little bit, you know why. But everything seems to be working okay now. So anyway, we're going to have a discussion today, mostly on online learning, anywhere from the design of online learning to managing online learning, and also even the case management piece of it as well. And we're happy today. We have a couple experts with us, Suzanne from Indian River State College, of course, Ann from Baker County up in the very northern part of the state. I'm from that part of the state, so I'm very familiar with it. So anyway, what we'll do is there's a couple ways you can communicate with us. If you have your screen on and you just want to wave your hand, we will take a question from you, and you'll be able to speak in if your line is unmuted, like Joseph said, or you can go into the chat box. There's actually, like you said before, a chat area where I can entertain questions from that, and either Suzanne, Ann, or myself will answer those particular questions. But the first topic we want to talk about, Ann, you want to take it over on this subject that you wanted to discuss?
Hi, everyone. Glad to be with you. I'm very, very honored to be a part of this group, this panel discussion. I am here representing a small school district who ventured into online learning just a couple of years ago, so we're still trying to find our way. However, our online modality really is just strictly vendor products at this point. We hope to offer some classroom hybrid kinds of things later, but for the sake of small staff, we chose the vendor product option, but we monitor those very, very closely. So I really want to talk about case management and what that might look like for our modality, but also what you might want to consider for whatever modality your district or college chooses to use in online education. In my opinion, case management really is that contact, that purposeful contact and follow-up between a teacher and a student that really develops that academic support system with a focus on helping that student remain connected to the academic content, connected with the teacher, but also connected with the school. So it's really similar, in my opinion, to the same things we do in the traditional classroom in a sense. So we're always trying to monitor the student's progress, trying to develop that next step for the student and have those data chats and those support systems in place so they can be successful. So just some of the things that I think we should consider when we're trying to develop the case management piece is again, some of the same things we think about when we're trying to set up a regular classroom, and that is, what is the plan for meeting the course teacher? We know that relationships are, one of the key pieces for students to be successful in adult education. Certainly the initial course entry elements, like, when will the assessment happen for that student? Those data chats for motivation, I think those are key. And certainly if we're using vendor provided products, what will the student be provided access to based on their initial TABE assessment or their initial test scores, and for which subject areas. And then also considering, what are the course expectations and how do we notify distance students of those particular policies and procedures? So how does a distance learning student have access to the same kinds of information that we would provide a face-to-face student? What types of teacher to student and student to teacher communication systems will we use to be able to keep those students on track? What types of support services might be available to a distance student? For instance, what happens when a student has technology issues? Who's going to monitor that? Who's going to help that student with that? And then certainly, how do we scale up the student technological abilities might be on the low level so that they can be successful in the online atmosphere? So lots of things to consider when we are developing the case management piece. So Jeff, Suzanne, is there something you want to add to those pieces?
I'll add something here. Hold on. Let me get to. Oops, sorry. Yeah, I'll add a couple of things. Yeah, we used, as Ann said, in Brevard County, we used vendor product as well in order to deliver the curriculum. And, it's a growing process. And here in Brevard, we've actually started with ABE and GED. And that program is actually, I consider, one of the better ones in the state. It's developed into something very nice. And we do have one person that basically monitors it most of the time. We have expanded into our ESOL areas as well, as not only including maybe some true online, but some blended opportunities as well, where the students will do that at a separate time. I think the key to that is to make sure it's coded right. And I know the Department of Education has just released some guidelines there that you definitely want to follow, that says that the student for the blended option has to be put into a different separate course section in order to better track it. And actually, it makes sense to do it that way anyway, because you really can see the performance of what the student is outside of what the teacher is reporting. So it is a growing thing for us as well. Especially this past year, we really started looking at more blended options, and many of these curriculum providers or these products that you buy will have options in there for you to track that information outside the course, outside the class time, which makes it a little bit easier. And of course, the other things that Ann mentioned as well is definitely true. Some students have technology, some don't. Even though I'm finding that more and more students do have that capability than ever before. So it is a gap that I feel that's closing somewhat quick and everything. Suzanne, anything you have to add?
Sure, and if it's okay with you, I'm a visual learner and I like to talk with my hands. So since I have nothing to talk with my hands with, I'm going to point to the screen. So I'm going to share my screen right here. First of all, I'd like to comment on something that I heard Ann say the first time I'd ever heard it regarding our adult ed students, was when she talked about case management. I thought that was brilliant way to describe it, Ann. I thought that was very cool way to consider your students. First of all, can everybody see my screen okay?
Yep, I can see.
Yes. Okay, good. All right. So what we do to manage as our case management to make sure that nobody falls through the crevices of online learning. In the beginning, what we found is we had a lot of students saying, "Oh, my teacher did this," or "the facilitator did this," and the teacher would say, "Oh, the facilitator's not doing it right." The facilitator would say, "The teacher's not doing it right." They didn't say it exactly like that, but that was the gist of it. It was always somebody else's fault. So what we did is we said, you know what, we're going to stop all the accusations and we're going to give the same information to everyone on the website so that everybody knows what to do. If there's a problem, they all know who to go to or whatever, the same communication lines. So on our adult ed website for Indiana State College, we have our online program here. And if I scroll down, there's a step-to-step for each of the steps of online. So step number 1, you're going to apply. Step number 2, you have to be in one of our programs. One of the case management scenarios that we found for online was that majority of problems seem to be coming from the students who online was not the right fit for them. They were doing online because somebody said, oh, you should do online because you don't have time to do in-house. Well, that doesn't really mean that online is the best environment for them. Because what we found was the teachers said the biggest problem they had with their online students starting was that they didn't start. And they didn't start because, oh, they didn't have a computer, or, oh, they didn't know how to turn it on, or basic things like that. They didn't know how to use a mouse. So we make it very clear in the beginning that this is not a computer training class. If you don't know how to use a computer, this is really not the class to be taking. Take a computer training class, or we have other classes for you. But if you're comfortable with online and you want to learn this way, this is the right class for you. So how we kind of weed that out is there's a computer literacy checkpoint. And I think that's step number 3 right here, computer literacy checkpoint. And when you click on that, it downloads a Word document for you. But in today's society, some people don't have Word. They can't figure out what to do when they download it or how to attach it. Most of our students are operating, believe it or not, with the phone still. Not still, that's the way they operate in every other facet of life. So in order to get started, they can actually open up just a mobile document, it's a Google Doc, and follow the directions on the Google Doc. And in it, we put everything that the teacher said that the students should be capable of doing if they arrive in their class. For example, they should be able to copy and paste. They should be able to highlight this line and copy and paste it. They should be able to go to a link and tell me something. So they have to be able to navigate the World Wide Web a little bit in order to be in our online program. So once they complete this computer literacy checkpoint, they follow the steps, and then they send it to the instructor. Once they send it to the instructor, here's the email, send the email with the attachment to this instructor. Once they send that to the instructor sends them a congratulations letter back. So when they come in to test, their next step is to call and set that appointment. And when they come in to test with us, they show, here's my congratulations appointment. I can go on to online, or online is the right fit for me if I score at the right level. And how they know that is because back on our website, it says that they have to score at a certain point. All the information is on here for them, everything that they're going to need to complete, all the way up through their new student orientation, how to log on to the live virtual webinar, and as well as virtual webinars that are offered to them at any time for training. And then all their contact information for their teachers. So it's all right here for them. Now on the opposite side, to manage that, that case, that client again, we have an employees page where the employees connect and they'll go in and do the same thing. So for example, when the employees connect, they'll get a form like this, and it says online checklist for GED Prep. So when the student comes and meets with them after they test, because when they apply online, the first step there, it shows them how to set up an appointment for testing. And when they're meeting with the facilitator completes all this information that has all the student information, which goes right from a Google form into a Google spreadsheet where all the teachers can see it and all the facilitators can see it and the students can't see it. But at least on the back end, and the employee says, well, I never got the information. Well, let's go check, because all the employees have access to this Google EDU site where they can check and see who is now enrolled in our online program. And I'm realizing as I'm speaking, forgive me for speaking very quickly. I am a New Yorker, so I have to slow down every once in a while. So if I speak too quickly, remind me. I'm trying to get it all out for you because I know we have a lot to cover today. But is there any questions or anything I missed?
Suzanne, let's open up the mic and go around and let the folks introduce themselves and see if there's any questions at hand for Ann, Jeff, or yourself.
Sure.
So I'll let you guide that.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for any of us? Anyone out there? Just unmute your mic by selecting the little microphone on the bottom left. Click off the little red line. MDC Kendall, I see your mic's off. Do you have any questions for us?
And Suzanne, also unshare your screen too.
Sorry. Okay. That would require a little bit of thinking. Hold on just a second. I got this. I think I got this. Hold on a second. Hold on. We got this. Maybe not. So.
It should be at the top. The option that says stop sharing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There it is. Thanks so much. Okay, good.
And there's everybody. Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
2 pages of everybody.
So Jeff, let's just take a roll call and go around the room and If there are any questions, they can present them at that time.
Okay, we have Seminole State College. I see a couple rooms here. Anybody from Seminole State have any questions? Here, I see somebody coming around.
Yeah, my question is for that computer literacy checklist that students have to go through before they can apply, is that something that's managed by the ESOL department or the ABGED department, or is that managed by your distance learning department at your college? I missed that piece, I'm sorry.
That's a great question. Okay, so for our online program, the way we work at is they're still underneath their own department. So GED is still led by the GED chair, adult basic education and ESL the same, similarly. So the departments are technically led by the chairs, and they meet everything that the departments are required to meet. However, we do have an online coordinator that coordinates the efforts to keep it kind of consistent with the online team. As of right now, that literacy completion checkpoint, how we have it is we have a link out on the website, and it directs the students to attach the information that they just completed and send the email to a specific individual. But we're in the process of changing that, because what that does is that requires that specific individual, for GED in this case specifically, she'll send them back and say, congratulations, go meet with your facilitator now and show her this piece of paper that online is the right environment for you, providing you meet the test scores you need. However, that's time consuming. There are automated methods that we can do, and that's what we're working on next. So we can create just simply a form, just like we've already created on that website. And instead of it going emailed to a person, we can just have it automatically submitted and come up, congratulations, you met the requirements, or here's the face-to-face schedule for you. So there are some automated measures that we don't have to take up that person also. Does that answer that question?
Yes, again, but who's in charge of that automated then? Is that your e-learning department, your distance learning, or will that be generated and managed by
Our e-learning team actually created it. I created the form, I created the documents, and I'll give you a tip. If you go to, and I'll type it in the chat box, but if you go to our online page, I'll send you the link in the chat box. You can see the form, and I mean, it's out there. You can kind of use the best practice of it. So I created the form and the document, and then we, as a team, we have access to the website, so we upload it to the website, and there's always somebody else with me. So like I'm leaving Indian River State College, but there's always somebody else. Right now we have another coordinator and somebody else that backs her up that can also do it if I'm not here or if she's not here. So we have a tag team type thing. It's our adult ed program. It's our individual programs. I work with GED and ESL and ABE. So I try to think of them holistically. I don't just say, oh, I'm just going to do it for GED. We try to work together. But it is the program that it actually creates it. And I'll tell you why. Because the IT department can do it for us, or the e-learning department can do it for us. But the old saying, if you want it done and you want it done now, you got to figure out who can do it for you. And we try to take advantage of people's talents. The person who's been answering the computer literacy checkpoint emails is somebody who will get back to people right away. So I guess it could be done different ways, but in our case, it's the program people that do it. I've done it. My coordinator's done it.
A perfect answer. You've answered thoroughly, and I hear you. When you got to get it done, get it done.
There are departments that do this, yes.
Yeah. All right, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Miami, Dayton, Kendall, any questions from down south?
Actually, I do have a question. How do you track the timing for the students? Let's say that they come to the GED and they do some GED online, but also they may visit the lab. How do you keep track of all that?
Oh, I can answer some of that, and I'll let Ann and Suzanne chime in as well. What we do is we let the system does it itself. We really do it through the management system of the software that we use, the vendor product. It'll definitely tell you how much time they have, and if it's a good product. If they can't do that for you, I would look for another product, to be honest with you. But yeah, they actually will tell you how much seat time they've done outside of the class itself, down to literally the second. So that's how we track it. Suzanne or Ann?
Well, if it's referencing, if her question, I don't think I clearly heard her question, but if her question is about tracking student time on task, certainly the vendor products, but remember the new rule also allows for teacher documentation,
Yes. Yeah.
logs. So we will probably do a little bit of both. Just to be sure, we have a couple of different products that we use. So depending on the setup of the vendor product, some vendor products you can log on and then walk off and go play a game of football and come back and you've been on there for a long time, but you really haven't produced anything. There's no work. It's akin to a student coming to class, but looking out the window the whole 4 hours they're there. So they really haven't had any time on assignments or tasks. So we will use both just to make sure until we can sort of feel our way through this new board rule and what that looks like for reporting purposes.
Yeah, a lot of our vendor products also, they do time out after so much time, like 5 minutes with inactivity. So definitely buy those products that do that as well. Good point, Ann. We definitely have to watch that because we will have a lot of window watchers. Yeah. Okay, Suzanne, any advice there?
Yeah, so first of all, in regards to what I heard you say, if they come in the lab for some of the time and online for some of the time, we tried that. We had students coming in, doing both. But realistically, we found that the students really weren't both that type of student. So if they were online students and they were coming in the lab, they would get lost and start doing the lab work and forget that they had to report to their online teacher. So we kind of separated that and stopped that. Although it sounds like a great idea in theory, it just didn't work as effectively. How we do it, if the online teachers, if they need that face-to-face time with the online teachers, we'll have them do a virtual webinar so that they get to meet virtually with the teacher to help them explain various subject matter. As far as the tracking of it goes, likewise, there are, in theory, a lot of different automated programs that we should be able to use to track all the students. But like Ann said, if they go into Blackboard and they go out and play football, well, that's not really what they did. So we started putting the responsibility on the teachers. So the teachers actually are responsible to monitor the students' attendance. So part of the online website, it says the students, they sign an agreement, they have to attend a certain amount of hours each week. And then when they get with the teacher meets with them initially and says, you have to attend this amount of hours each week and I'm going to be tracking you. However, the teacher might meet with them face-to-face in a virtual webinar like this. Maybe they meet, outside of the virtual environment. Maybe they have a phone conversation. Those things really can't be tracked unless the teacher is literally tracking it. So it's the teacher's responsibility, and thus, likewise, we give the teacher the responsibility of grading the student. So when the student leaves or exit, we give them an XT grade so that the student technically dropped out. So the time clock stops ticking, FTE clock stops ticking, and the student is gone, and the teacher is responsible for putting that grade in to end date the student. So we put the onus on the teacher. And we likewise, we look at their completion rates also, and they're aware of that.
We have a question here from Christine Burke from Sumter County, whose mic is not working, but this is a great question. I saw that Indian River State College had ESOL and GED Prep online. Does the latter mean that students must have a TABE score of 9.0 or above to be eligible for the online course?
No, not at all. So yes, we do have ESOL and GED Prep. Our GED Prep, we classify it as that because students, no matter if they're ABE or GED, they all are here for one thing, they're GED. They sometimes don't even know they're in an ABE class. So we call them all GED Prep. They might be taking a GED class or an ABE class, but they're part of the GED Prep verbiage. No, as a matter of fact, I think it should say online, at least on the employee side it does, that these students in our online program, they are required to take, to pass at a 4.0 M level on the TABE to be in our ABE GED program online. ESOL is different, and that's, I don't know if I know their qualifications. I think they have to be in the higher level ESL levels to be online also. I know that for a fact, yes. And it should say on our online program.
And do you have any minimum requirements for your online programs?
We don't hold ABE students off of online access. In my opinion, the whole idea of online access is to meet those students where they are in their personal schedule, where our brick and mortar operational schedules don't provide that for them. Certainly if there's a student we really see that they're struggling, they just can't get through it, we make contact with them, we may encourage them to come on in and see if we can't find an operational schedule, a brick and mortar schedule that works better for them, letting them know that, it is a flexible, if work gets in the way, just come when you can, we can provide materials at home for you. The idea is really to find a balance for them so that they can continue on in their education. So we don't really have any requirements. We don't keep anybody offline. We used to try to do that with minors, but there are so many different variables and extraneous factors that you just can't figure out for all of them. So we sort of leave it open access, Jeff, if you will. So we don't really hold anybody out. I mean, we even have students who come from our high school with special IEP plans and they want to do online. We just work with them and try to cater it to their needs. So.
Yeah, in Brevard County, we have the same thing. 4.0 is what we have as well, Suzanne. But I do love that whole idea of just why we call it ABE. Just call it all GED. I agree with you 100%.
And really, we don't even use that term. We do in terms of talking about the test, but in our advertisements and marketing, it's adult education. It is adult education classes, and we try not to use the different terms in marketing because the public doesn't really understand that. They want adult education, they want a diploma at the end. We stopped calling it a GED diploma a long time ago, just my preference. People feel good when they say they're getting a Florida high school diploma, and so that's how we advertise it.
Yeah, we dropped the ABE stuff in our advertising as well because it was confusing people. It's like nobody just comes up to brush up over their basic skills. They come to get their diploma, as you mentioned there.
Yeah, what's an ABE? That's what they want to know. What's an ABE?
Yeah, exactly. All right, what do we have here? We have we see here Atlantic Tech. What's going on down there in Fort Lauderdale? Any questions?
Thanks, Jeff.
Hey, what's up?
Gentlemen, Casey, Cahill, Christina, Urena, and our online teaching staff. Thanks for saying hello to us. We're here to learn. We offer both ESOL courses, GED preparation courses, and GED Prep in Spanish. So we're here to learn about some of the best practices. Glad that you all answered the questions about what levels, what thresholds, because we battle that question. At this time, we don't keep anyone from the online courses, but we do see a lot of our students struggling both with computer literacy, Suzanne, as well as just literacy, period. And we're kind of at the point where we're starting to have the conversation again about whether or not we start to hold students back until they're at a higher literacy level. So it's good to hear from you all with regard. Folks, team, any input, any questions? I hear you all talking about vendors. Jeff, you're a straight shooter. Curious about what your vendor of choice is.
Oh, I made that promise when I did this webinar not to give product names. But
I know you're another job.
Yeah, just because we got all the stuff here. But no, if you chat with me later, I'll be more than happy to tell you who we go with and stuff like that. Yes.
Cool. Team? So I'm also curious with your we have for the GED level, for the GED course, we have a teacher that teaches science, a teacher that teaches social studies, a teacher that teaches RLA, a teacher that teaches math. Do you all have do you have one teacher that teaches all subjects, two teachers? How do you break that up? Do you STEM it? Or do you have different teachers for each subject?
Suzanne, you want to tackle that one?
Okay, in-house we do. In-house we have it by subject. Online we have the courses broken up by subject because that's what we're supposed to do, and by level. However, we just discussed today, we had one person teaching the GED class, all the subjects, again, individual, so the student would be signed up for one subject, not all together, but it's the same teacher that's teaching it. Likewise, for adult basic education, all the teachers were teaching all the subject levels, even though they're broken out as classes for the students to make it very clear what the students enrolled in. we did just discuss, though, we're moving to having all the teachers teach the ABE level up through the GED level, because the qualifications are the same for our adult ed program, that they have to have the bachelor's and be competent to be able to teach the secondary level information. But instead of breaking it up in ABE and GED and then having to transfer the student, if we just make it one solid line through, then the teachers, they get very competitive with their students, and they're really excited about their students, and we're hoping to see that maybe they're going to really want to get their student all the way through. So we're actually, the reason we're doing it is because we have a higher enrollment right now in GED, and I only have one online GED teacher. So we're going to make all the teachers trained so that they're all capable of taking the students straight through. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks for that. And the reason I was asking is because, as you all know, with GED completion and students reporting back, it becomes very slippery.
Yeah.
Basically, you know, we work in incentives to get them to come back and report to us whether or not they've completed a test, but it's even more difficult and elusive online. So, you know, we're looking for tricks to any ways that we can get them to come back in and report to us that they've completed either one test or you know, the whole diploma.
Okay, now I have a trick for you, if it helps. Okay, speaking of tricks, okay, so let me see where it is, in which if you go to our online page, I just put the link in the chat box. There should be an orientation in there, and if not, I'm just going to send you the link. But I did a YouTube video as to how to share their, it's probably not on here because it's the next step of our teachers doing it. But I did a YouTube video to teach the students how to share their GED grades, their GED access, give us access. So essentially they can't, pardon?
GED Manager, you mean?
Yes.
To click the button? Okay.
Exactly. So they can't go to their teacher until they've completed the second phase of orientation. And in that second phase of orientation is where they do it. And they share their screen with us to prove that they've done that. And they can't visit with their teacher unless they've shared that screen. So I'll send them the YouTube video as to how we have them do that. But that kind of catches them. So even if they leave us, they've already given us access. So we are going to be able to capture them even if they're gone. Make sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
You know, I think the question was also how many, how many teachers do you have? In Brevard County, we just have, whoops, where am I at? Speaker view. Yeah, I'll just go back to gallery view. But in Brevard, luckily I have one teacher, Miss Townsend, who is excellent, and she does everything, all the subjects from ABE all with your GED, and her caseload is fairly heavy, and she doesn't mind doing it. I even say, Casey, do I need to get you some help? And she always is able, wants to do it herself. But we are trying to expand it to an online adult high school program, and of course, our ESOL program is starting to grow as well. And of course, we'll need some additional teachers there. But we are at the point of splitting out, so that's where we're at right now. And Ann, how many teachers do you have there?
Well, we serve about 75 maybe students a year online, and remember we're a very small rural district, and it takes a little bit of time to build that online presence and what the possibilities are for an online learner, keeping their family schedules, work schedules, that sort of thing. So we have one teacher, and I really want to share our experience with having really utilizing K-12 teachers. K-12 teachers are on a contract in the K-12 system during the day, so that leaves their availability at night and on the weekend. Well, what we found is that students who are online are calling us during the daytime. They want information on this or specific that. They're having a problem with this problem or a problem with technology or this or that. Or they have a question for the teacher. And so after a couple of years of dealing with, once the teacher's off in the afternoon, the student's gone. They're off to their work schedule or whatever there is, whatever reason they need to be online for, they're off on taking care of that. So it was like a mismatch in timing for the teacher and the student to communicate. So this past year, I moved it to an in-house teacher who's part-time adult ed teacher. So she took over the online piece, and it has worked out very well because students want to access their teacher either during the operational hours that have been set by that teacher or during our operational hours when there's someone here who can help them. And so it has worked out better in terms of students being able to communicate with the teacher being able to case manage, if you will, all those parts and pieces. So we have the one person, and it has really worked out very, very well, because once they come out of the assessment, the initial assessment, they go straight to that teacher and do a data chat and an academic plan, and they're shown how to log in, what it would look like when they get to that particular vendor product. So while we're not quite there with those fabulous videos that Indian River has, but we're going to see if we can borrow this from Indian River. But we do have a person on staff who does all those pieces, so that when students leave here, we believe that they're comfortable with what the expectation is for the class, what the communication pieces are available to them, if it's email, text. Our teacher uses a Google telephone number, so it protects her own personal telephone number. We use Blackboard Connect mass communication system as well for our students. So we just try to develop our online piece so that students who are online have access to as many services as the brick and mortar students do, including career development, which we're still developing for online, for our online students. But in my opinion, those things have to happen so that they have those equitable services.
Yeah, this is a great question to lead into this question that somebody has asked here from Miami-Dade College. How many students per teacher for GED Prep online and for ESL online? Actually, and this is basically for you, Suzanne, at Indian River State College. So tell us how many you have, because I'm interested to know that myself.
Okay, so I think I have a link up here about that. Let me see if I can find it. Got it. Okay, so let me share again, if I may. Share. Okay, so what you're seeing in front of you, can you see my screen time management e-teacher guide?
I can see it, yes.
Okay, so we fluctuate depending on if it's the beginning of term or which term is it, summer or spring or fall, or which teacher is it. My GED teacher, who teaches all different levels, GED and ABE, they have, and you can hear me, right? I unmuted properly?
Yep.
Okay. They have, she's going to have more students than some of the other students, but we try to keep it consistent. So, I mean, they don't ever, my GED teacher right now probably has about, I think if I understood the coordinator correctly, she's getting up to 50 students. So 50 is the max that we tried to put in a teacher's class. It's not typically that amount. But the reason we created this little time management guide is because if you spend any day in teaching online, you can spend the whole day researching and making sure you're helping just one student to the best of your ability. So we used to have, at one point we had one teacher that would claim 20 hours a week that he was online, but he was teaching like 2 students, and then another teacher that had 40 students teaching 20 hours a week. So we gave them this based on Florida Virtual Schools model. And Broward County actually has a similar model that FATDEC members actually have been able to take advantage of this time management guide that Florida Virtual School has, just to keep it consistent. The teachers should be managing, they should be able to handle, for example, if they have 11 students, they should be able to handle it within 5.5 hours each week, using webinar rooms or whatever it might take. And if they can't, we want them to talk to the chair. We want them to report what they're actually doing, but they're the ones who came back and said, yes, we can manage this amount of students. And then we also give them some other responsibilities sometimes in the online environment, but essentially that's how we manage their enrollment. So at any given time, they don't ever have more than 50 students. But on a regular basis, if that was the question, it's a lot less students than that. Maybe it's 12 or so. Does that answer your question?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah, how about, we got some folks here from, I believe it is Manatee Technical Center, West staff. What's going on down there, ladies and gents? You got some questions here for the panel?
Jeff, we're here. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
I think you guys are doing such a great job informing us that we don't have a single question at the moment, but we'll shout out if we do.
Okay, sounds great. And we have some folks here from, I saw the jail somewhere. Has anybody got questions from the correctional institutions? I guess they went away. How about student engagement for the panel and everybody else out there? I find that as, I teach some online classes myself over at Indian River State College in an adjunct role, mostly from the credit side of the house, and sometimes getting students engaged and to making sure they're still there. What are some tricks of the trade there for Suzanne and Ann that you guys are using, or anybody else out there in the crowd to try to keep students on track and keeping them moving and motivated? And by the way, I always found out, assuming they're millennials, they're going to engage online. That's a falsehood as far as I'm concerned. So, so we just definitely, what are you guys using? I'm interested as an online teacher myself, part-time.
And you know what? I'm glad you asked that question, Jeff, because I want to find out more about the Google Hangouts. Can somebody talk about that?
Suzanne?
Sure. Did you want to say something first, Ann?
No, we're not at that point yet. We are building to that level. I'd say probably, since we're a straight vendor product, that comes back to vetting that vendor product of choice and what you spend your dollars on. Making sure we know as educators, what does it look like on the student side? If there's not a student view, then certainly there needs to be an opportunity for us to create some dummy student account, I guess, and use it as a student. So we understand what level of engagement or non-engagement there might be with that product. Is it interesting? Is it colorful? Is it interactive? Does the product have a multimedia aspect to it? Does it take into account learning styles? There's audiovisual, kinesthetic kinds of things. And, does it offer students their own access to their progress monitoring? I think that's key, especially if you're only using vendor products for the online learning piece and doing the basic case management. And then also consider, was the product developed with universal design for learning in mind? So that students have multiple ways to engage with the content, multiple ways to express their understanding, and it doesn't come back to short quizzes, post-testing, that there's some other approaches to interactive learning within that product. So I would say, in terms of student engagement, if you're only using vendor products, you have to make sure those things are in place before you choose that product.
Totally agree. Suzanne?
Thanks, Ann. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen again. And I agree with everything that Ann just said. Can you all see my screen okay? Nope. How about now? Hold up. Okay, how about now?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So what you're looking at in answer to June's request, June, this is Google Hangouts. And the only difference between this and the Hangout that we're essentially on right now, or the webinar we're essentially on now, is that Google Hangouts is free. And it should be accessible to everyone, mobile devices, Androids, Apple, or any device. I haven't had an issue on any device yet. Any issues that I've had have typically been user issues because I didn't know how to turn my mic on or something. But other than that, I haven't seen an issue where it hasn't worked. But we've used it a lot collaboratively in-house here when we were working on the grants. We're all at different campuses, and we literally brought in all the things that we're doing. Like right now, we'd share our screen and we'd share a video call with each other or chat. Everything that we're doing in Zoom, we can do in Google Hangouts. Again, though, that it is all free. So students can collaborate in here also. Does that answer your question, June?
Sorry, I had to unmute my mic. Yeah, I was just really interested in the engagement, like how you keep that student engaged in a distance learning program.
Okay, let me show you more. So this is one way to do it. When I showed you before the calendar that we have of the live virtual lessons we offer, in Broward, I know they require their teachers teach, now this is way back when we were originally researching it, but they required their teachers to have a live virtual lesson, like a webinar, at least, I think it was at least once a month, maybe once a week, okay? And we have some teachers here that strongly promote it because the reason is that at the end of their live virtual lesson, so they'll teach any lesson, whatever it might be, and the students can come and pick and choose what they want, but some of the teachers do require that they engage in this live virtual lesson. Again, reason being is because the more engagement that they have, the more they're going to get to interact with the teacher, and more than learning the subject matter, they wind up stopping at the end and asking questions of the teacher. Maybe it has nothing to related to the subject matter that they were talking about, but they ask teachers about how to use the environment or how to figure out this question or answer this subject matter. So it leads them into further engagement to make certain that they're understanding the concepts also. Oh, and actually this was the page, our online website links out to this live virtual lessons page, and here is where it shows the students all the online webinars that we have to offer for them. You know, Tuesday at 8 p.m. there would be a math skills, and it tells a specific learning objective that the students would learn in case they need to brush up on those skills. We used to also offer computer literacy live workshops here too. So, and it's free, it's open to everyone, really just our students are the only ones who take advantage of it, but if the student couldn't get in initially to the online environment, maybe they can take a computer literacy workshop to learn how to explore the online environment. So that's one way we engage them. Once we do offer those live virtual lessons, then we record all of them just like you're doing here. And just like you do in IPDAE, you put all the trainings in there. So here we have all the trainings that the teachers have done. So not only is it one time that we've paid them for to create these lessons and offer the lessons in a live virtual environment, but now they're recorded. So in case the students couldn't make it, they can go back through and watch the entire lesson. The teachers do require, I'm not certain all of the teachers, but some of the teachers do require that they actually do a screenshot at the end of the lesson. Some of them require a live lesson so that this student can prove that they were there till the end of the lesson, essentially. That's one thing. Something else I wanted to show you. Oh, and engagement. Here we go. So let me share this link with you. Is everybody here familiar with Google Docs? Is there anybody not familiar with Google Docs? Let me put it this way. If you'd raise your hand or chime in for a minute. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just a second so I can find the chat session here. Here, okay. I just put a link in the chat session. So if anybody would like to log in to that link, and Jeff, maybe you can see, tell me if somebody's raising their hand or whatever. Yes. I'm missing the view of everybody. Okay. Okay, so I see somebody else logged in here.
That was me.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So, and you can see exactly if you're logged in with your name. I can see that one of my colleagues, James Sutcliffe, is in here with me. And James, would you type your name or something in here so I can see that it's you? Thanks so much. Okay, and I can see right here, James is typing and Diane Herron is typing, and only she's not logged in. So she's showing up as an anonymous character. And they're typing here. You can engage your students like this, or collaboratively you can work with your colleagues like this. We use this a lot now. And we find it an excellent way to write grants so that we're not sending a zillion emails around to each other to figure out which is the last document we last worked on. It's one live document. And we can make comments on them as we're going along. So say, I disagree, I don't think Tammy's really here. I'm gonna say a comment here, are you sure? Sure, okay, and she can respond to my comment. But whatever we do, I can see in the history everything that everyone does. So at any point, I can revert back to a former document in case I don't like something someone did. Perhaps a student engages a little bit too boisterously or vociferously. We just don't want them to, you know, if they're saying something wrong or maybe they get something wrong, maybe we can revert to the former version of it, okay? Like this has definitely got to come out. Yeah, that's not going to work.
Nah,
okay. Edit, undo. Okay. But here you can see the collaboration of it. And students like to collaborate. Now, on a post-secondary level, this is one of the reasons I'm moving to University of Tampa, because this is what my actual position is. I teach instructional design and technology. And the learning theory that this is based on is social constructivism. In the real world, we work together. We don't work alone in our textbook or one book. We work like this. We talk to each other. We communicate with each other. And if we don't teach them how to do this collaboratively in a collaborative environment online, we're doing them a disservice and we're not meeting those workforce needs also and those career pathway needs. So this is one way we can do it. Okay, so a little bit about Google Docs. We're huge fans of Google Docs. I'll show you some more and stop me along the way if you'd like at any time. I'll put this link in here for you also. I created some open educational repositories. And first of all, everything that I'm going to share with you is free. I'm a huge fan of free and collaboration. So I created some open educational repositories working with adult educators around in the nation. And these are some of them. So for example, I think it was Anne that addressed before about media and content, or June addressed it initially. So let's take a look at some. Here's a TED Ed course, figurative language. This is actually based on IPDAE standards. So I went to the IPDAE website and I took the IPDAE lesson that you have out there, and I had just essentially added some media to it. And I did it by going to ed.ted.com. And it allows you to add some video engagement, some discussion board engagement, some interaction, and areas where they can think critically and actually apply it and come out with an actual project as they go through the lesson. So essentially it's all IPDAE material. I just took it and added some media content to it. And then the students can interact and discuss it also. Any questions so far? I know I'm giving you a lot. Another area that you might want to look at is, okay, back on this page, and again, I'll give you the link. But all these lessons were developed for meeting the adult ed standards. One of them I did, here's the student view. There's a new movie out. It's called Albion. It's out in, I think, Target and Walmart on DVD. And it's a nice little lesson. It's about a little girl and a horse. And essentially I took, this might be directly from IPDAE. Oh no, it's actually from Albion movie themselves. They created it, but I aligned it to the adult ed standards again. And just essentially, instead of having the students just write something or write an essay, they were actually going to be screenwriters and create a screenplay, because that's a real world significant outcome, that they can actually go into a career like that. So if they follow through the lesson, and it starts, of course, with the learning objectives, but you have to, here's the rubric, how they'll be measured at the end of it. But they come out with really considering, how could they write a screenplay? They can write a screenplay. Here's how Albion did it. Here's the editor and the writer of that movie. And at the end, there is an actual hands-on activity that they can actually meet the writer and the producer of the movie. There's a contest that they can do that. I also happen to be friends with them, so I'd be happy to bring them to your location if you chose to use the lesson also.
So I'm thinking, Suzanne, these are all great resources that you are providing our audience with, and I'm learning just as much as they are from you. So I'm thinking maybe the link you should put in the chat room is your telephone number at your new place.
Got it. I'll share 2 links with you at the end, or not now, I'll share it right now. I'll share my portfolio with you, where you're going to find all these lessons, and then my own website too, where you'll have all my access also. Yes, correct. I will do that. One more, actually, if I may show you. Is anybody familiar with iCivics?
Yes, I am. It's great, great stuff.
Awesome. Okay. So iCivics, is anybody else? Can you see, Jeff, if anybody's raising their hand?
Nobody
is. With iCivics?
No, I don't see anybody else. Not through the chat room anyway.
Okay. In brief, iCivics was actually created by Sandra Day O'Connor. She actually envisioned it simply because she would go into the classrooms and see students lacking in engagement in history classes and government classes, and they were bored out of their minds. But yet in their own personal homes, she saw them engaging in games. And I was the same way. That's how I discovered games. I would watch my son come home from school and learn content by playing games. So actually my doctoral focus was on gaming and education, which went along with all the games that iCivics developed, which again, envisioned by Sandra Day O'Connor. And it's all free. So if you go to About, you'll see if you sign up as a teacher, actually, let me show you quickly. The teacher, you can link to standards. So if you go to Florida, you'll see all the courses in economics, government, history, and how they align to various standards for high school. But then aligning them to our adult ed standards is not too far a stretch. And that's exactly what we did. We incorporated these lessons into our academic pathways for our ADE and GED content, our GED content so far. But what the students do, they'll learn about the lessons. So they'll read about the lessons. There are actually lesson plans in here, and they can read about the lessons and link right to this. But at the end of it, they can go and play the games. So, for example, in one of our classes, one of the students had no interest in paying attention at all in the class and could have cared less about government. When the teachers started engaging them in the games, the student was very interactive and all of a sudden knew everything about the game and thus everything about the amendments. So, for example, if you play Bill of Rights, it's an interactive and engaging way, I'm going to say no thanks to registering, but an interactive and engaging way to simply learn about the amendments. And I'm not going to take too much of your time. When they go in, they're going to see the different amendments that they can apply to, the different attorneys that they can be partners with. And they're faced with real world, oh, I got to enter my name. Okay, and I'm going to turn the music off for just a second. You all need to be quiet for just a second, okay? Stop. Stop. Okay, sorry. So once they get in there, they get to choose their lawyer colleagues, but they learn soft skills too. They learn how to run an office, what's going to keep the customer happy, and while they're doing it, they're going to learn the amendments that they have to apply. I had ESL teachers play this little game with me. And they said, this is silly, this is ridiculous. And 3/4 into it, they said, this isn't right. And I said, what's not right? They said, that's not how you can get into the country. It's like, actually it is. So they were learning themselves from it, and they wound up engaging so much into it, they use it with their students now too. So I think that's the last bit of engagement I have for you today. Of course, though, social media aspects. I highly recommend that you have a social media page to capture the students when you can't find them, because they're always on social media and will respond to you there. And I think I've totally surpassed my time.
No problem at all, Suzanne. No, definitely. I think June, if we could, we'd love to have these links. If Suzanne could type them up for, well, I know I'm asking you to do something, but to have them, sit out there for everything, I think it would be wonderful, and for us to check this out. And I was going to mention social media as well. Not only do we have the most followed social media pages in the state of Florida for adult education at Brevard Adult Ed, but I was just going to say, when I teach online and everything else, I even set up my own social media, my own Facebook page for that. And yes, that is a great way for me to communicate and for kids. And of course, you could set up groups. You don't have to have access to your page per se, but you can have access. And I will say the students that are, even when I teach a credit class, the students that are the quietest in class will be usually the loudest and most vocal on my Facebook page for my classes that I teach. And not only that, I keep it open forever. And in every time I teach a new class, the old students are engaging with the new students, and it's actually pretty cool to do that. I know sometimes the K-12 system and even colleges are about 40 years behind when it comes to social media access, but I'd say that's definitely one to fight for in your school district. If you can have access, where students can have access and you can have access to them through social media. We find it to be the biggest recruitment tool, retainment tool, and everything else is through our Facebook pages. So don't give up that battle. There's nothing taboo about social media as far as I'm concerned. And anything to throw in?
I'd agree, Jeff, with your comments on social media. We don't have a Facebook page. And again, most of our not having comes back to small staff. And just we all wear so many hats already, it's just hard to pile on, if you will. Our legislatures do a good job of helping us do that every year. But nonetheless, we do use social media. We have tapped into all of the virtual yard sales that are all over the state of Florida, and there's like one for every county, one for tools, one for everything. But in terms of marketing, we have started utilizing those for marketing our programs here, our adult education programs, including our certificate career training programs, because that's where people spend their time, is on social media. So while we do sometimes send things to our personal Facebook pages just so it'll hit that contact list, and we might think about adding a Twitter account. Again, it comes back to who will manage that and where do they fit that into their schedule. But we've found using the social media has been much more successful than our local newspaper, obviously. That's not the our population really are not looking for that newspaper. They're looking online. So we certainly have increased our use of that, and it has been very helpful, and it has increased our numbers tremendously.
Yeah. Susan, let's see here. June, any other topics we need to cover? I'm just trying to look at the list here.
Jeff, I'm really interested in, does anybody do like a distance learning program and a face-to-face program, so like a blended environment?
Yeah, we're doing that. We actually started that up this semester. I'm having trouble making myself actually as screen view here. Hold on. Oh, well, I'm here anyway. No, what we've done, we've started up this past semester, doing it with our ESOL program, and it has worked very, very well. You know, a lot of times we wanted to use the class time for that instruction, and we used some of the canned products or some of the vendor products where students can actually go in and do some additional work, or we'll assign additional work in there. And it is working very well with our upper level ESOL program. I don't have the number of hours we recorded this past semester on it, but it was well worth trying to get there. We also looked at just numbers of students who actually went on to the GED computer program we have, the vendor product we have, and see how many hours that students are doing outside of that class, and those numbers blew me away as well. So I really feel that there's even a market for us, and we're going to start that in the fall, actually having a true blended version of that as well, of our GED program and our ESL program. We're not there yet with the others, but I think those two, we definitely feel that there's a future in it. Anybody else?
We're not currently using blended learning, but we have in the past offered a first college course, student development course, a little bit of asynchronous, a little bit of synchronous learning, a little bit of independent online learning for the students, but a little bit of online together with the instructor, and it was very, very successful. And it sort of gave students that experience with the post-secondary level, a little bit of traditional setting, a little bit of online together, a little bit of independent work online as well. And we were able to incorporate group projects online so that students can go into breakout rooms but then come back in and present. So it's an interesting modality to have. Again, it does require staff. It requires lots of planning, but it definitely gives the students a great experience.
I think the other thing is too, you got to have the right staff doing it as well. I think that's the key is into this. That's where it's working for us, is because we have the right people doing it. Suzanne, anything?
That's critical. And what you just said, you're 100% right. So I teach it at the post-secondary level. And when I say I teach it, I actually offer it as a blended learning. So it's educational technology in a blended learning environment. Research shows that that's really the best case scenario. So the students get to see you face to face to help you with any issues that they might be having. But you can have a flipped class. So the students learn the material and then they come in and you actually apply it. And like Ann said, then they come out and they actually have something to demonstrate that they've learned the material, or that they can demonstrate the skill. And that Facebook page that I put on there, that I linked to in the chat room, it actually has all of my students' work. So typically the really good projects that they have, I'll put their links out there because they make them all web-based. So, and often I really encourage them to make real-world products. So a lot of times they'll address standards that we have to address in adult ed, for solving real-world problems. So feel free to log on and share your best practices also. Thank you for letting me share. And what a great turnout. I'd like to say there's some of you that have a full room. Thanks for coming. It's nice to hear.
Well, June, has anybody else got any questions out there? I don't see any in the chat box, but anybody from Miami-Dade, Manatee, Seminole?
Hello, this is
Yes.
Cheryl Sherlock from Seminole State College, Adult High School. We have hybrid courses, and how it's worked pretty well for us is at the way we schedule it. So our students at the beginning of the week understand the requirements for the whole week, and they're required to come 2 to 3 days, and then those who need to stay the fourth day if they cannot finish up the work the first 2 or 3 days. That way, the students that really struggle with technology is there to get the work done, and the others that already have the experience can get it done and then move on.
Sounds great. Anybody else? June, anything for the greater good?
I think we've got a question in the chat, Jeff.
Says here, thank you. The session provided me with a lot of information. Oh no, that's just a great comment, but we definitely appreciate the comment, Christine.
Jeff, let's just go around the room and just open the mic up for, any concerns, anything that maybe wasn't addressed, a best practice that maybe is happening at that local level, and then we'll just close it out for the day.
Yeah, I'd say I'll start off. I think the biggest thing is just patience and persistence. It will start off slow, but it does get better and better. And of course, always got to evolve. And there's always going to be those audibles you have to run every now and then to change the play halfway through the game in order to win the game. So I think that's the importance of that's the thing I've learned, not only in this job, but just in, especially when it comes to online learning. And it will continue to evolve. That's the other thing. It is a moving target. It just gets better and better and more engaging. And like Suzanne threw some wonderful stuff out there. I can't wait to steal it and everything else. I guess it's free. I guess we're allowed to steal it. So I think there's some great stuff that I could not only would help me out professionally, but it could help out our staff as well professionally as well. So any other questions out there or comments?
I'll throw one more out, and just like I'll actually compliment what you just said, Jeff. So it's a constant work in progress, and the biggest thing I can say is get your key players on board. So if somebody is like, no, our students can't do this, we can't do it this way, no problem. Get the teachers that really believe that the students can do it that way, and let them show you with 1, 2, 3 students how they can do it and how they can engage the students with technology and thinking and problem solving. And just keep chunking away, because it eventually grows from a little steam engine into a freight train, or vice versa, right? Yeah, very fast freight train. Thank you. Thanks for letting me be here today. Oh, okay, in social media, so the way I found my new position, they found me through social media. I wasn't looking, it came right to me. So staying connected is really important for our students. I keep pushing that for our students. It's how you're gonna get future careers. So it's just essentially how I'm showing them that they can really do it like that. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem.
And Jeff, I would just add, I would just ask, anyone who's developing online courses, whether it be a vendor product, whether it be hybrid learning, and keeping the student in mind, also with the equitable services, whatever can be modified from the traditional classroom setting or the set of services at your brick and mortar place, we really should give some consideration to how online students can access those services. I love what Suzanne has done with the computer literacy check and some of those other things, and it sort of makes that process automated. So I appreciate her sharing those things. But again, any services that we are offering students face-to-face, we should really challenge ourselves to find ways to make those things available to online students and meet them where they are in their own schedule.
Great. Any other questions from the crowd? Just one last thing here, June, since there is no more questions, make sure everybody follows IPDAE on Twitter as well at IPDAE1. I know Gene would definitely appreciate that. So definitely make sure you follow them for updates on future webinars and events happening throughout the 17-18 school year and beyond. And
I know there was a question about the resources. Don't forget, if you're the host site, send the list of the attendees to Tammy with the email, and then we'll go ahead and send everybody an individual email with all of the resources that were provided to today. All right?
Sounds awesome.
And
moderating.
Okay, well, I'm done. It's been a pleasure once again to serve you, June, and to work with these esteemed colleagues as well, with Ann and Suzanne as well. Learned a lot myself today.
Thank you, everyone.
No problem. Have a great day.
you.
All right, bye.